Hello everybody, my name is Kerbunny, and today we're going to take a look at some Christmas-themed renders produced for a wide variety of video games. The holiday season was always a wonderful time for my younger self to be a gamer. Since the weather outside was mighty frightful, I could easily justify my desire to hunker down in my room and replay some of my favorite games. And as a child whose parents had a modest amount of expendable income, as a good boy whom Santa loved to reward with lots of presents, my library of games always expanded on Christmas Day. Indeed, Christmas is a perfect opportunity for people of all ages to expand their virtual horizons and fall in love with new games and platforms. And nobody knows this fact better than the companies that produce those things. Much like how Hershey trots out the red and green kisses as soon as the calendar reaches, well, November, game developers love to swaddle their characters in coats and scarves in anticipation of what will surely be another lucrative fourth quarter. Sorry, is my cynicism showing? I was a kid who got scammed into asking for a ton of shitty toys and shittier games, so I always get a bit skeptical whenever somebody wants to sell me something for Christmas. Anyway, these festive renders are fascinating because their existence is just as ephemeral as that of the lights on people's houses and the carols on the radio. They're good for 1, maybe 2 months of the year, then poof, they're gone. They gotta do a lot of work to cultivate a very specific vibe in a minuscule amount of time. Do they succeed? Well, let's find out. Due to the broad nature of this video, I'm gonna touch on a few series and eras that I haven't yet reviewed in detail. The idea of skipping ahead slightly irks me, but it's a Christmas special. We don't need to worry about continuity. The broadcast date is all that matters, baby. Find yourself a blanket and some hot chocolate because we're in for one hell of a cozy time. I want to kick things off with the render that inspired this video. This shot, produced for Donkey Kong Country 3, sports many of the Christmas hallmarks. No pun intended. We've got bright, multicolored lights, fresh snowfall, presents, and pure, unbridled joy among the children. We're only one render in, but I'm already starting to feel a bit of holiday cheer. My sole complaint pertains to the moon, which is a huge orange eyesore. If it was 50% smaller and used a cooler color, it would have done a much better job of enhancing the scene's tranquil majesty. In addition to this scene, Rare produced festive renders for several of its Nintendo 64-era titles. We've got one for Diddy Kong Racing, one for Donkey Kong 64, and 2 for Banjo-Tooie. My immediate takeaway is that I love the nighttime shots. The twinkling lights look incredible, the indigo sky nicely contrasts with the snow, and the idea of huddling near the tree on Christmas Eve or Christmas night carries a certain kind of magic that you can't find elsewhere. As a result, this shot is my least favorite by default. On top of using a less remarkable daytime setting, it's a bit light on the festive imagery. Hats and candy canes aren't enough. I need some lights and presents, damn it! Still, I don't hate it. Diddy and Taj look like they're having a great time, and I gotta give props to Rare for bothering to swap the texture on the latter's vest. I appreciate this shot for illustrating some serious trust and coordination between the 5 members of the DK crew. Their significant differences in size make for a pretty convincing tree shape, and based on the amount of snow accumulation on their arms, they've been standing fairly still for a long time. I would argue that the scene is too visually busy with so many bright colors slathered onto it, but I should cut the Kongs some slack. They're doing their best. Also, this render is the first of today's set to feature another Christmas staple, treats. We've got a pile of what I assume are coconut cream pies, as well as a very round cake, a refined version of which appears in the 2 shots from Banjo-Tooie. I don't have anything to say about the shot of Banjo putting Mumbo in grave danger, so let's move on to the shot of Banjo putting Mumbo in grave danger. Man, what an asshole. Seriously though, this shot is really fun. I like how Kazooie seems poised to lasso Gruntilda's feet with a string of lights. After all, there's no mischief quite like seasonally appropriate mischief. Oh, and shoutouts to the crescent moon. It's a huge improvement over the orange disaster from earlier. I'm not terribly impressed with the Jinjos. Their sharp, rigid faces prevent them from expressing any sort of strong emotion. The only one who doesn't look vaguely sad or concerned is the green one, and since he's clearly asking Santa to make a certain bear appear on a certain lunchbox-shaped console, his optimism ain't gonna last for much longer. I was gonna complain about how this shot relied on these fellas as filler, but then I realized that there weren't any other characters who could have taken their place. Tootie wasn't present in Banjo-Tooie, and Bottles f***ing died. Oh well. Overall, this scene is pretty cute. As a bit of a segue, I would like to thank the Render Archive for sharing this batch on Twitter several years ago. Without them, I never would have seen these renders nor thought to make this video. They also posted this scene, which was produced for Yoshi's story, and oh man, it's magical. The intense glow of the lights and the gentle snowfall make it seem paradoxically warm and chilly. Yoshi and the Shy Guy really seal the deal. Due to their shininess and stubby proportions, the rank and bask comparison that I made in the N64-era Mario video is even more relevant here. They look super cute with their little accessories, and Yoshi's act of kindness toward one of his many sworn enemies is a perfect example of the Christmas spirit. What a perfect shot. It's so perfect, in fact, that Nintendo resurrected it as a wallpaper several years after its original run. The higher resolution makes it look even more gorgeous. That said, I have a serious problem with the random-ass shine sprite that replaced the tree's original star. This wallpaper was apparently created in late 2002, so Nintendo likely wanted to create some synergy with Super Mario Sunshine, which had launched in July of that year. I can understand the temptation, but taking a PNG from a game about a tropical island and slapping it onto a snow-covered render from the previous console generation was not the way to go. To close this section on a more positive note, I wanted to mention that someone on Twitter has a mug with this render printed on it. I'm admittedly kinda jealous. I would love to sit back and sip from this thing during one of my retro gaming binges. Okay, not that mug specifically, but, you know, a version that I own. Anyway. Let's skip 2 decades into the future and dig through the surprising number of recent Christmas-themed renders of the Mario cast. The bulk of this section's content comes from the Holiday Create-A-Card toolkit, which Nintendo hosted on its website in 2021 and 2022. I realize that online time wasters like this one are inherently uninteresting, but I gotta take what I can get. Create-A-Card 2021 gave us 4 new renders. I'm not gonna dig too deep into the quality of the characters, models, and textures, since the mainline render reviews series isn't even close to reaching the modern era. That said, I still need to commend the texture on Mario's overalls. We've come a long way since the days of Brawl's hyper-realistic denim. The green earmuffs and scarf are an interesting choice. Peach's winter garb is cute enough, although I would argue that it's a bit underdone? Although I'm not sure what else Nintendo could have added. Toad looks adorable. A fluffy coat is perfect for him.
Chicks dig the fluffy coat.
Yoshi gets good marks as well. His outfit's colors make a bit more sense, since they complement his shoes. We've also got this shot of Peach and Toad that was possibly created around the same time? Peach's shawl is missing its ribbon though, so maybe not. The nighttime setting looks great as usual, and the orange glow of what I assume are storefronts further enhances the scene. The tree's excessive shadows and individual needles make it look too weirdly realistic, at least in relation to the 2 smooth, cartoony characters in the foreground. The power-ups make for perfect ornaments though. I should get some replicas for myself in real life. Create-A-Card 2022 was much less interesting than its predecessor. Look, it's the Super Mario Bros. 2 crew with some presents. Yay! A series of bust shots gives us a look at Bowser with a present as well, but even his manic, dastardly energy isn't enough to save this set from looking boring. And don't even get me started on the bust shots of other characters. They're just pre-existing renders with some ribbons glued onto them. Seriously? Nintendo couldn't attach some holly to Link's arrow or give Isabelle a candy cane? Kirby's render is the cleverest use of an older asset, but it's still just a rip from Triple Deluxe at the end of the day. After writing the script for the previous 2 sets of renders, I discovered a third. These ones come from Mushroom Kingdom Create-A-Card, (Holiday), not to be confused with Holiday Create-A-Card. Obviously. We've got some more renders of characters holding presents. This shot of Peach and Daisy is actually an edit of a render from Mario Party 9. Mario has an alternate render in which he trades his usual attire for a Santa hat and his Fire Mario outfit. Honestly, this combo works too well. It allows Mario to channel some of Santa's energy while referencing the games in a clever way. I don't know why Nintendo doesn't lean on it more often. The only other renders of note belong to these snowman versions of Mario, Luigi, and the 2 Toads that everybody hates. I really like the Mario and Luigi snowmen. Their faces are cute, and their hats and scarves look super vibrant against their monochrome bodies. Another semi-unconventional source of renders is Mario Kart Tour, which added several Christmas and winter-themed costumes over the course of its cursed, wretched lifespan. Let's make this quick. Mario makes for an adequate Santa, although the fact that he's exhibiting 3 different hair colors makes me oddly uncomfortable. Yoshi as a reindeer makes perfect thematic sense. I love it. Peach is here on a technicality, since the costume's name is Peach (wintertime). I vastly prefer this look to what we saw earlier. Daisy looks infinitely more festive, and I love her little beret. Congratulations to Larry for being the only Koopaling to appear in this video. His color scheme lends itself quite nicely to a wintry theme. He's gonna have a hell of a time trying to get those snowflakes out of his hair, though. Bowser's costume looks a bit lazy. If he can wear a tailored suit for his wedding, he can certainly wear a full Santa suit. I love the lights strung over his shell, though. They almost look like star bits. We've got a couple of additional renders to blitz through before moving on. This shot leans further into the reindeer Yoshi idea, which I fully support. Mario looks better without the fake beard, and everyone else looks worse with oversized Santa hats badly photoshopped onto them. And finally, we've got this shot of Mario wearing a scarf and studying a single snowflake. I love the vibes here. As Nintendo's mascot, Mario is always smiling or cheering or welcoming people into whatever experience he's trying to shill. I like the idea that he can walk outside on a chilly day, get distracted by something interesting, and pause to think about it for a moment. It gives him the slightest ounce of depth. Shockingly enough, Nintendo has produced several Christmas-themed renders starring Pikmin. I don't know what kind of CG magic they were channeling, but the production values of these things are amazing. Most of them look downright realistic. One of my favorite holiday tropes is the scene of everybody getting together to decorate, and these shots have that in spades. All of the Pikmin are working so hard. Well, with the exception of this goober who decided to study his reflection instead. The color palettes are incredible as well. They use plenty of red, green, and gold, but all three shades are subdued in a way that makes the scenes feel realistic instead of larger than life. They don't feel like my memories of Christmas morning, which were filled with glee and visual stimulation and whatnot. Instead, they feel more like my grandparents' living room on the days before Christmas, which exuded a measured but constant sense of warmth and good cheer. I want to pay special attention to this render. It has poinsettias and pine cones, the latter of which are a totally underappreciated Christmas ornament. Great stuff. The only shot that I find kind of frustrating is this one. My girlfriend and I decorated her tree a few weeks ago, and I'm still finding glitter on my phone case, forearms, and, in one case, eyelids. This poor man is going to have a sparkly ass for months. Nope, not a fun thought at all. Our last major section belongs to Animal Crossing. Now, I'm kinda cheating because none of these renders are explicitly related to Christmas. They're all meant to illustrate winter in general. Still, come on. The whole month of December is a build-up to Jingle's long-awaited arrival, so you can't blame me for conflating the two for the sake of this video. Now, I need you to promise that you'll stay with me for the next couple of minutes, because the original Animal Crossing's render isn't very groundbreaking. It simply consists of some villagers scattered throughout a snowy scene. Nobody's even interacting with the snow. Murphy doesn't count. His render always looks like that, snowball or no. I do love the snowman's dead-eyed stare, though. He looks like he's planning my demise and laughing about the fact that I'll never be able to stop him. Anyway, Wild World's render is a marked improvement. The main attraction is, of course, the female villager clocking the male villager with a snowball. Good times. I sense a bit of a Calvin and Susie dynamic between these two. And I gotta give a shout out to my boy Rolled. How's it going, buddy? I haven't seen you since you unceremoniously abandoned me in my town in New Leaf. Okay, that's a lie. I told him to leave so I could make room for Chief. Sorry. City Folks render contains elements from both of the previous ones. We've got another fake snowball interaction, thanks Pierce, and another snowball fight, this time between Patty and Goldie. Overall, this render feels like a snow day. Nobody has any responsibilities, so they're all playing outside. Very wholesome. Moving into the foreground, I like how the male villager is wearing the flame t-shirt in the middle of winter. Think warm thoughts, pal. Think warm thoughts. Next up is New Leaf's render. And man, it's really trying to get me into the Christmas spirit. It's got everything. Snowfall, Santa, or, well, his ally. Lots of lights, holly, gift-giving, and a tree with... Wait, what? What the hell is up with those lights? They're clearly standalone units. What are they, sticky LED orbs? Weird as they may be, they're pretty effective at being, well, pretty. This render's only real downside is the town tree, which looks awfully sad in its barren state. At least the rest of the trees get to keep their leaves year-round. And believe me, that small detail makes Animal Crossing's winters several orders of magnitude less depressing than real life's. New Horizons render is a slight step back, and I only say that because the reduced field of view makes it look a bit cluttered. Everything else is perfect, though. It represents a ton of my favorite wintertime activities, from building a snowman, to chilling near a space heater, to falling flat on my face and embarrassing myself. Once again, the render's atmosphere is perfect, with the crescent moon in the sky and the scattered glows of Christmas lights, torches, and lanterns illuminating the scene. Is it a coincidence that these renders didn't become truly great until after Nintendo started to set them at night? For the sake of my argument, I'm gonna say no. And with that, we've officially worked through my small collection of Christmas-themed renders. There are probably more floating around on the internet somewhere, but I gotta draw the line somewhere if I want to finish this thing by Christmas. Before we call this video a wrap, though, I want to touch on a pair of illustrations that Nintendo of America used for a Christmas card in 1998, according to a handful of Redditors anyway. The first image is inoffensive. It has a subdued but still festive color palette, and the idea of Mario peeking through the window in unsuppressed anticipation is super cute. The second image is... wow. There's a lot to unpack here, and a large share of it is not great. Let's just go from left to right for the sake of simplicity. Snorlax looks pretty normal, although his body understandably shrunk to fit into the image. I don't know what he's supposed to be dreaming about, though. Are those roasted chestnuts or plums? Now that we can see him from behind, Mario looks unusually stout. Someone get this man a super mushroom stat. Banjo's head looks a bit too big, but I'm too distracted by Kazooie's sheer audacity to care. Link went through so much during the N64 era. Let him enjoy a candy cane for God's sake. Pikachu clearly hadn't completed his weight loss journey by the night of this party. He seems much more interested in murdering Meowth, who also looks a bit wide. His design matches his red and green illustration more than it does his red and blue one. My only issue with the portrait of the Kongs is that Funky's sunglasses look way too small. His eyes didn't even fit under his shades from Donkey Kong Country 1, and this pair is somehow even tinier. Kobe Bryant looks like he's having a great time. Look, he's got a cinnamon stick in his hot chocolate and everything. Okay, I can't keep a straight face anymore. This is weird, right? He's here to promote Kobe Bryant in NBA courtside, but still. Link looks wretched. His proportions are decent enough, since his silhouette was copied from this illustration from Ocarina of Time. Even so, no amount of Yusuke Nakano's skill could counteract what this card's nameless artist did to Link's face. Crooked eyebrows, misaligned eyes, deep creases around his cheeks, and a creepy smirk that looks like it belongs on a bloodthirsty marionette. The whole illustration must have been a rush job if this face made it through the sketching phase. And wait, what the hell is he doing with the Master Sword? He is not supposed to have that by now. This little dogfight between some X-Wings and TIE Fighters is fun, even though there's no real way to make it explicitly festive. Unless we pretend that, B. Arthur is flying one of them? You know, maybe I shouldn't have said that. George could easily use that Disney money to have me executed. Yoshi looks pretty upset over dropping and shattering a couple of bulbs, but he should honestly be feeling pretty happy for being the character who looks the most on model, especially when compared to the pudgier baby Yoshis from Yoshi's Story. And hey, Ken Griffey Jr. is here? Hooray! We're looking at yet another promotional stunt, this time for Major League Baseball featuring Ken Griffey Jr. I can understand the desire to sell the N64 as the go-to console for sports games, but damn. Were Fox McCloud and Captain Falcon already so irrelevant that Nintendo preferred to invite not one but two real-ass guys to the party instead? Overall, this illustration has a bit of good, a lot of meh, and some seriously bad. It boasts a ton of Christmas staples, but it's so weird and cluttered that I can't see myself vibing with it like I could with most of the other images discussed today. Maybe it should stay in the 20th century. Well, we've reached the end of another video, and I feel really good, actually. I lack the space to put up many decorations in my apartment and have a severe allergy to Hallmark movies, so this project was one of the few ways in which I could truly immerse myself in Christmas imagery. And as always, taking a critical look at renders old and new was a ton of fun. I gestured at a few of my Christmas memories in this video, but I don't want to completely dominate the conversation. Did a particular render bring back memories of a past Christmas? Did you ever get a game or console that defined the rest of the holiday season for you, in a good way or a bad way? Which games do you typically play to kill time until the big day? Post your stories in the comments to keep the coziness rolling. And if you're interested in giving me a cheap but highly appreciated Christmas present, you could always leave a like on this video and subscribe to catch future render reviews as soon as I upload them. Before we call it quits for the day, and let's be honest, the year, I would like to thank everyone who watched even one of my render reviews. 2023 was the best year for my channel by a wide margin, and it was one of, if not the, best years of my life in general. It's a privilege to have people from across the world listen to my thoughts on this extremely niche topic, and I've had so much fun reading everyone else's takes on it. Now, I'm going to be extremely busy for the next few months, so I don't quite know when I'll be back. My goal is to post something in the first quarter of 2024. Maybe 2 somethings if I'm feeling self-destructively ambitious. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season and a magnificent start to the new year. Thanks again, and I'll see you around.